Welcome to CTS 220, Cyber Safety Lesson 1. In this session, we're diving into the world of cyber threats, what they are, who's behind them, and how we can reduce the risk of attacks. We will also explore system hardening, a critical strategy to make your systems more secure and resilient. By the end of this lesson, you'll have a clearer understanding of the threat landscape and how to defend against it effectively. Before we jump in, let's pause for a moment. How familiar are you with identifying and preventing cyber threats? If you're not sure, don't worry. We'll walk through it together, step by step. In this lesson, we have several key learning goals. First, we'll learn about the different types of cyber threat actors. Basically, who's launching these attacks and why. Next, we'll explore major types of threats, like phishing and malware, and look at how attackers break into systems using various methods known as attack vectors. We'll also introduce system hardening, which involves strengthening your systems by closing security gaps. You'll discover practical hardening techniques like disabling unused accounts, removing unnecessary services, and applying secure settings. By understanding and applying these concepts, you'll be able to help prevent unauthorized access and support compliance with cybersecurity regulations. When we talk about the cybersecurity threat landscape, we're referring to the full range of digital dangers that are out there. This includes everything from viruses and ransomware to phishing emails and nation-state hacking. The landscape is constantly changing as technology evolves and new vulnerabilities are discovered. Staying aware of what's out there is the first step in defending against it. It's not just about knowing the threats, it's about understanding how they work so we can stop them before they cause harm. Cyber attacks don't just happen. They're carried out by specific groups or individuals called threat actors. Let's break this down. Nation-states are government-backed groups that hack for political or military advantage. Cyber criminals are financially motivated, stealing personal info or spreading ransomware to make money. Then we have insiders, like employees or contractors, who may intentionally or accidentally misuse their access. Finally, hacktivists are activists who hack to make a statement, like disrupting websites to support a cause. Understanding who's behind an attack helps us know what to expect and how to respond. Malware, short for malicious software, is designed to damage or gain unauthorized access to systems. It comes in many forms. Viruses attach themselves to real files and spread when those files are opened. Ransomware encrypts your data and demands payment to get it back. Trojans pretend to be useful software, but perform harmful actions in the background. And spyware secretly collects your personal information. Malware can enter your system in many ways, so having strong defenses like antivirus tools and safe browsing habits is important. In 2024, the cloud platform Snowflake experienced a serious security incident. Attackers used InfoStealer malware to collect login credentials and authentication tokens from different customer environments. With that stolen data, they were able to break into connected accounts. Big names like Ticketmaster, AT&T, and Advance Auto Parts were among the victims. This case reminds us that cloud environments and third-party relationships are also vulnerable. A single stolen credential can open the door to multiple systems, so we need multiple layers of defense. The fallout from the Snowflake breach was significant. Personal login credentials and tokens were stolen, which could have led to unauthorized access or identity theft. Companies like Ticketmaster had to come forward publicly to acknowledge the breach. It wasn't just a technical issue, it damaged public trust and the company's reputation. Incidents like this show how far-reaching a supply chain attack can be. There are a few major takeaways from the Snowflake incident. First, supply chain attacks can cause widespread damage. Protecting one organization isn't enough if connected partners are vulnerable. Second, enabling multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is critical. It adds an extra barrier, even if passwords are compromised. And third, limiting user access using the principle of least privilege can help contain the damage if an account is breached. Phishing is still the most common cybercrime, and the numbers are alarming. Over 3 billion spam emails go out each day. Google alone blocks around 100 million phishing messages daily. These scams are cheap and easy for attackers to launch, which is why they remain so popular and dangerous. Phishing attacks involve fake emails or messages designed to trick you into giving up personal information. Spear phishing takes that a step further. Spear phishing attacks are highly targeted and personalized, often using real defenses. In 2024, Change Healthcare, a major provider of health tech services in the U.S., was hit by a phishing attack. Employees were tricked into giving up their login credentials through cleverly crafted emails. Once inside, attackers accessed systems holding sensitive patient information. The attack disrupted services and led to a ransom demand. This wasn't just a breach of data, it was a disruption of healthcare operations. The impact was severe. Attackers got into internal networks and potentially accessed protected patient information. The organization had to deal with system downtime, increased administrative work, and possible regulatory fines. The damage also included long-term reputational harm, especially in a field where trust and data security are critical. This case highlights the importance of employee training. Human error is often the weakest link in cybersecurity. MFA should always be in place to protect accounts, especially in healthcare systems. And finally, organizations need to have a plan in place to respond quickly and contain the damage when an attack does happen. A zero-day exploit is one of the most dangerous kinds of cyber attacks. It happens when an attacker discovers a flaw in software that no one else, especially the developer, knows about. Since there's no fix yet, the system has 0 days of protection. The attacker writes malicious code to take advantage of the flaw and then launches the attack, often silently. It can take time before security teams even realize what's happening. Eventually, once the issue is discovered, a patch or update is released. But until that happens, systems are exposed and vulnerable. Zero-day attacks are dangerous for a few important reasons. First, there's no defense available at the time. They strike before anyone knows what to block. Traditional antivirus tools often don't catch them, and that makes detection harder. These exploits are also high-value tools for cybercriminals and nation-state attackers. In fact, they're often sold on the black market for large amounts of money. When they hit, the impact can be devastating, affecting entire governments or critical infrastructure. You can't completely prevent zero-day attacks, but you can reduce the risk. Keep all your systems and software up to date. Use advanced security tools like endpoint detection and response, known as EDR, which are better at spotting unusual behavior. Automate your patching process when possible, so fixes are applied quickly. Apply the principle of least privilege, so users only have the access they need. Monitor your network closely. Sometimes the only sign of a zero-day is unexpected activity. In late 2024, Hertz Corporation was hit by a zero-day attack involving the Clio file transfer platform. This tool, used internally to exchange files, had a hidden vulnerability that attackers found and exploited. Because the flaw wasn't known to anyone, there was no patch or fix available at the time. Attackers used this to gain unauthorized access and steal sensitive customer data across the Hertz, Thrifty, and Dollar brands. It wasn't until early 2025 that the breach was discovered during a security review. The breach exposed customer names, payment details, and reservation information. This kind of data can lead to identity theft and fraud. On top of that, the company had to notify regulators, face potential fines, and deal with shaken customer trust. This case really highlights how third-party tools, like Clio, can introduce serious vulnerabilities if not properly vetted and monitored. One of the key lessons here is that third-party platforms can create hidden risks. Just because a tool is widely used doesn't mean it's fully secure. Virtual patching, like putting in temporary safeguards, can help limit access while a permanent fix is in development. Network segmentation is also important. By isolating critical services, you reduce the chances of an attack spreading through the whole system. Denial of service attacks are designed to overwhelm a system with traffic, so it crashes or becomes too slow to use. Distributed denial of service attacks are even more powerful because they come from many systems at once, usually part of a botnet. The goal is to make a website or service unavailable. These attacks don't always steal data, but they can cause major disruptions, especially for websites, game servers, or banks. To defend against denial of service and distributed denial of service attacks, you need several layers of protection. Firewalls and intrusion detection systems can block unwanted traffic. Rate limiting is another tool. It restricts how many requests a user can make in a short period. Big cloud providers like AWS or Cloudflare offer distributed denial of service protection services that absorb the impact. It's also important to monitor network traffic and create a response plan ahead of time so your team knows what to do if you're targeted. In 2024, the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, went down for hours due to a suspected distributed denial of service attack. Elon Musk called it a massive cyber attack. A group called Dark Storm Team took credit. Even with some protection in place, like Cloudflare, the attack showed that deeper vulnerabilities existed. The servers behind the scenes weren't fully protected, and it caused noticeable outages for users worldwide. Users couldn't access the platform, especially during busy times. Advertisers lost exposure, and the company took a hit to its reputation. The attack revealed that not all parts of the system were protected equally. When users lose confidence in a platform's reliability, it affects business, trust, and future growth. This incident taught us that protection must go beyond the surface. You need full edge-to-origin coverage. This means every server, not just the front end, should be shielded. Also, having monitoring and incident response procedures in place is key. The better prepared you are, the faster you can recover and minimize damage. A man-in-the-middle attack is exactly what it sounds like. An attacker places themselves between two parties who think they're communicating securely. For example, when you're on public Wi-Fi, you might be sending information to a website, but if the attacker intercepts that traffic, they can read or even change it without you knowing. These attacks are sneaky and effective because they take advantage of insecure networks, outdated software, or poor configurations. Once the attacker is in the middle, they can do serious damage. They might read sensitive data, like passwords, credit card numbers, or messages. They can even change the data in real time. For example, they could redirect a bank transfer or inject malicious code into a communication stream. What makes this attack especially dangerous is that neither party may realize their data has been intercepted or changed. Let's talk about some specific examples of a man-in-the-middle attack. Wi-Fi eavesdropping happens when attackers set up fake Wi-Fi networks that look legitimate. When you connect, they capture everything you send. Session hijacking involves stealing session cookies so attackers can impersonate a user and access their accounts. HTTPS spoofing or SSL stripping tricks users into using an insecure connection, while DNS spoofing redirects users to fake websites that look real but are built to steal data. These attacks can be used to gather login credentials like credit card information, emails, you name it. So how can you prevent these attacks? First, keep your software and devices updated to patch vulnerabilities. Use strong encryption, like WPA3, on your Wi-Fi networks and disable older, insecure protocols. Always check for HTTPS when browsing. Look for that little padlock icon. Be extra cautious when using public Wi-Fi. A virtual private network, or VPN, can help encrypt your traffic even on unsecured networks. Finally, enabling multi-factor authentication adds an extra layer of protection if your credentials are intercepted. In 2024, a cybercriminal group called Storm-1811 used a combination of tactics to carry out a man-in-the-middle style attack. They impersonated IT staff and tricked employees into granting remote access using Windows Quick Assist. Once connected, they installed ransomware and moved laterally across the network, stealing data and causing widespread disruption. This attack combined social engineering, session hijacking, and malware, all in one coordinated hit. The attackers bypassed security controls by using a legitimate support tool. Because the connection was initiated by the user, it didn't trigger the usual alarms, even bypassing multi-factor authentication. Once inside, the attackers installed ransomware and accessed sensitive data. This shows how trusted tools can be weaponized when users are manipulated into handing over control. This incident proves that no tool is safe if people can be tricked into misusing it. Organizations need to restrict remote access tools and add extra layers of authentication. Training employees to question unexpected support requests is critical. Finally, having endpoint detection and response systems and keeping logs of activity can help spot and stop attackers before they move too far through the network. Credential-based attacks focus on getting your username and password to gain unauthorized access. Two common methods are credential stuffing and brute force attacks. Credential stuffing involves reusing stolen login information from past breaches, because many people use the same password across different sites. Brute force attacks use automated tools to guess passwords until they get it right. Both methods can be automated and are surprisingly effective without the proper defenses in place. To stay safe, you need to use strong, unique passwords for every account. Multi-factor authentication is a must. It stops attackers even if they guess or steal your password. CAPTCHA challenges help block bots from launching mass login attempts. You should also monitor for unusual login activity and use services that alert you if your credentials show up in a data breach. Setting up account lockouts after too many failed attempts can stop brute force attacks in their tracks. In 2024, Dell Technologies suffered a major credential-based attack. Hackers targeted a reseller portal and launched a brute force attack, attempting about 50 million logins over the course of 3 weeks. That's around 5,000 attempts per minute. Shockingly, the attack went unnoticed for a long time, and customer data, like email addresses and hashed passwords, was exposed. It was a massive wake-up call about monitoring and access control. The attack revealed a gap in Dell's alert system. Even with such high-volume traffic, the attack didn't trigger alerts. This allowed the hackers to keep going unnoticed. They accessed sensitive data, putting users at risk. It also raised questions about the security of third-party platforms and how they're monitored. This breach highlights the importance of consistency. All systems, especially third-party portals, need to follow the same security practices. MFA should be enforced across the board. Rate limiting and account lockouts are basic but effective defenses that should always be in place. Most importantly, unusual login activity should never go unnoticed. Strong monitoring is a critical part of a solid cybersecurity strategy. An attack vector is the method a cybercriminal uses to break into a system or network. Think of it like the front door or side door a hacker can use to sneak in. This could be something like a malicious email, a fake link, or even an outdated system that hasn't been patched. If you understand how these attacks get in, you can build better defenses to stop them before they do real damage. Let's look at some common attack vectors. First, email attachments. Hackers love to send infected files disguised as documents or PDFs. Clicking them can silently install malware. Malicious links work the same way. One click can redirect you to a dangerous site. Then we have unpatched systems. When updates aren't installed, known vulnerabilities stay open for hackers to exploit. These are some of the most frequently used paths into a system. There are other paths too. Misconfigured services, like open ports or default passwords, give attackers easy access. Insider threats are also a major risk. Someone with legitimate access might misuse it intentionally or by accident. Compromised credentials, like stolen usernames and passwords, allow attackers to log in and move through systems without raising alarms. That's why layered security and monitoring are essential. Attack vectors are delivered in a variety of sneaky ways. You might get a phishing email with a subject like "track your package" or "reset your password." Both are designed to lure you into clicking a bad link. Malware can be hidden in downloads, while outdated operating systems, browsers, and even network devices can be exploited. Admin tools with default passwords and unsecured databases exposed to the internet are all easy targets for cybercriminals. So, how do you protect yourself? Start by never opening email attachments from unknown sources. Use email filters and antivirus tools to block dangerous content. Teach users how to recognize suspicious emails, and always hover over links before clicking to check where they really go. Use web filtering tools to block malicious sites. Keep all your software up to date, and automate patching so updates aren't missed. To go a step further, use secure configuration guides like CIS benchmarks when setting up systems. Conduct regular security audits to catch weak spots, disable unused services, and change default settings. Apply the principle of least privilege to only give users the access they absolutely need. Also, monitor user activity and login behavior for anything unusual. Strong, unique passwords and multi-factor authentication can prevent a lot of common attacks. System hardening means tightening up a computer system's defenses by reducing the number of ways it can be attacked. The more services, accounts, or open ports your system has, the more opportunities hackers have to get in. Hardening is all about removing what's unnecessary and locking down what's left, while still allowing the system to function properly. Hardening a system starts with removing software you don't need, turning off unneeded services, and deleting default user accounts. Then you configure the system to follow security best practices, like setting strong password policies, applying regular updates, and using strict access controls. These steps make your system a harder target for attackers. When you reduce vulnerabilities, you make it harder for hackers to break in. System hardening helps prevent unauthorized access by shutting off unused features and enforcing strong access rules. It also ensures compliance with regulations like HIPAA or NIST, which require secure configurations. Ultimately, it helps protect sensitive data from being stolen or damaged. Imagine setting up a brand new server. It usually comes loaded with unnecessary trial software, default passwords, and services running in the background. If you don't harden it, attackers can take advantage of those weak spots. But if you remove those extras, close open ports, and change default settings, you significantly lower the chances of an attack. That's the power of system hardening. Hardening your systems regularly has a lot of advantages. First, it reduces the chances of malware infections or cyber attacks. Second, it can improve performance by shutting down processes you don't need. It also helps you meet compliance requirements and builds trust with your users and customers. And when an incident does happen, a hardened system is easier to investigate and recover because there are fewer unknowns. Let's discuss some examples of best practices. Use baseline configuration checklists, like those from NIST or CIS. Apply least privilege access to users and applications. Schedule routine audits and vulnerability scans. Keep detailed documentation of your secure settings. Use automation tools like group policy or shell scripts to apply your configurations consistently. These steps help you build a strong defense that's scalable and reliable. Now that we've made it to the end of this lesson, let's take a moment to reflect on how much you now know about identifying and preventing cyber threats. It's important to understand the types of cyber threats, who carries them out, how attacks happen, and how to protect systems through hardening techniques. Understanding these foundational concepts helps you recognize risks, respond effectively, and design safer computing environments. Thank you for learning with us, and let's keep our systems secure.